Om Bhurabhuvah Svah Tatsavitursvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaskar, my dear friends. This is seventh video on the life and teachings of Swami Brahmananda, a direct devotee of Param Hansa Ramakrishna. This video starts from Maharaj. Swami Brahmananda says, Samadhi is generally classified as of two kinds. In the first, the Savikalpa Samadhi, one experiences the mystic visions of the spiritual form of God, while the consciousness of individuality remains. In the second, the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, a man loses his individuality and goes beyond the visions of the form of God. The whole universe disappears. Besides these two, there is yet another kind of samadhi called Ananda, blissful samadhi. If an ordinary man attains this experience, his body and brain cannot stand the intense ecstatic joy. He cannot live more than 21 days. One day, in the course of his teaching, Sri Ramakrishna spoke about the manifestation of Brahma as sound, the logos. Later, when I sat for meditation, I took this as my subject, and it was not long before the sound Brahma was revealed to me. Sri Ramakrishna one day told me, once while I was meditating in the temple, screen after screen of Maya, ignorance was removed from my consciousness, and I saw a light more brilliant than 1,000,000 suns. From that light there came forth a spiritual form, which again melted away into the formless. The body is the temple of God, and one should practice worship and meditation within it. When the consciousness merges into the Sahasrara, the 1,000-petaled lotus in the brain, the mind does not feel inclined to come back. There you realize that what is outside is also within yourself. There is a saying, he who sees God in the temple will not return, which means that a man attains a liberation as he realizes God within the shrine of his own heart. Though temples may serve as aids to the beginner, they are but symbols of God's greatest of all temples, the human heart. Between the eyebrows there is a third eye, the eye of wisdom. When this eye is opened, a fountain of joy is released, and the whole universe seems merged in bliss. Further, Maharaj says, within the palace of 7 gates, there dwells a king with whom a poor man begs an audience. The king's minister grants his request and leads him through the gates to the royal presence. At each gate there stands a richly dressed officer, and each time the poor man asks the minister if that is the king. The minister answers no each time until they have passed the 7th gate, and the king stands before them in all his splendor and beauty. Then no question is asked. The man recognizes his king, so it is with the Guru. Like the king's minister, he leads the disciple through the different stages of spiritual unfoldment until he leaves him with the Lord. But know this, there is no greater Guru than your own mind. When the mind has been purified by prayer and contemplation, it will direct you from within. Even in your daily duties, this inner Guru will guide you and will continue to help you until the goal is reached. Have an intense love for God, and the mind will remain always tranquil and pure. The earnest will to purify and steady the mind is to retire into solitude, control all cravings, and engage yourself in contemplation and meditation. The more you occupy the mind with holy thoughts, the greater will be your spiritual unfoldment. Just as a cow yields much milk when it is well fed, so when the mind is fed spiritual food, it will yield greater tranquility. Spiritual food consists of meditation, prayer, contemplation and japam. Another way to steady the mind is to let it wander, but to keep a steady watch over its wanderings. After a while, the mind itself becomes tired and comes back to find peace in God. If you watch your mind will in turn watch over you. It is good to rise early in the morning. The time best suited for contemplation is when night passes into day and when day passes into night. It is then that the Sushmana, the central nerve within the spinal column, becomes active and one breathes through both nostrils. As a general rule, we breathe through only one nostril at a time. This causes restlessness of the mind. Spiritual aspirants should observe when they are breathing through both nostrils. The Sushmana is active then, and those times are the most helpful to contemplation, and we should take advantage of them. Free your mind from cravings and attachments, practice spiritual disciplines, and your mind will become pure and steady. If a man does not struggle hard to realize God, he remains steeped in ignorance. Therefore, struggle, and God will be revealed. Accept all struggles boldly, welcome them, for through them you shall surely find peace. The easiest method of realization is to remember God constantly, even as a man welcomes his friend and entertains him with food, drink and conversation, so must you entertain God in your thoughts. Converse freely with Him, know Him as your very own, and you will find peace in Him. Who can fathom the mystery of God? He is intimate and formless, and yet He is also with form. He incarnates Himself as man. Verily, it is beyond the power of the mind to understand the devious ways through which God leads man to Himself. Sometimes the path is smooth, sometimes it is thorny, and sometimes it is like an impassable mountain, but still he leads man safely to himself if he will only take refuge in him. It is a Maya which prevents the mind and senses from desiring to experience God, but a man who has realized Him has risen above all the charms and attractions of Maya. Maya reveals her mysteries only to him who has gone beyond Maya. Being chained to Maya, man does not realize how great is his suffering as he wheels around on the wheel of birth and death. The body decays day by day while man still sleeps in Maya, forgetting the sacred mission for which he was born. The one unique advantage of this human birth over all other forms of life is that it is by man alone that God can be realized. Therefore, forget the body and its comforts, sake of the delusion of birth and death, sake of the illusory peace of Maya, and find the real peace, the everlasting peace of God. Teaching number 8. Maharaj, Sri Ramakrishna used to say that a man will surely attain God if he possesses in an intense degree three kinds of love: the love a devoted wife feels towards her husband, the attraction the worldly man feels towards the world, and the attachment the miser feels towards his hoarded wealth. This means that the mind must be one-pointed and completely free of all desires but the desire to know and love God. Sri Krishna says in the Gita, "Give up all formalities of religion and take refuge in me alone. Surrender yourself wholeheartedly to God. Pray constantly with a pure, sincere heart. O Lord, I do not know what is good and what is bad for me. I am entirely dependent on you. Grant me what I most need for the spiritual life. Take me along the path which will lead me to the greatest good. Give me the faith and strength constantly to remember you and meditate on you." Constantly, O Lord, make me able to understand and receive that grace which I know you are ready to give me. Know that your time on earth is but short and that your real home is at the lotus feet of the Lord. In his folly, man will deny the very existence of God because of his own lack of comprehension. He prefers to rely upon his own intellect, little realizing how unstable that intellect is. Even though what he accepts as true today, he rejects as false tomorrow. Yet he thinks that what appears as true to himself today is the final truth and must be accepted by all. The Lord alone knows all the subtle ways by which a man may be deluded. One who has known God does not limit him. To him, God is not a matter of opinion. God is. He is boundless love and infinite mercy. He is beyond the grasp of the intellect. He who has realized God understands his mysteries. For him there is nothing hidden. The gates of knowledge are open and he knows that he belongs to God even as God belongs to him. Intelligence is Intelligence is but another name for ignorance because its area is limited. Therefore, if a man wants to attain all knowledge and understand all mysteries, let him devote himself to the knowledge of God. As children swing around a pillar in their play, holding tightly to it for their sport, so must you hold fast to God, the pillar of life. Whichever path you follow, whether it be the path of work or of devotion or of knowledge, you will reach Him. Hold fast to the pillar and your life will be blessed, and you in turn will become a blessing to mankind. Teaching number 9. Disciple. Maharaj, is initiation really necessary? Maharaj replies, yes, initiation is very important. With the aid of a mantram, it is easier to practice concentration of the mind on one chosen ideal of God. Without the mantram, the mind wanders from one conception of God to another and never succeeds in concentrating upon any. And without achieving perfect concentration, nothing can be accomplished in the spiritual life. Therefore, the aid of a guru is very necessary. He helps the disciple to choose his own particular ideal according to his temperament and then gives the mantram best suited to the attainment of concentration on that ideal. With unwavering faith in the words of the Guru, the disciple must regularly practice repetition of the mantram and meditation on its meaning. This will he find peace of mind. The path of spirituality is hard to follow. No matter how clever or how intelligent a man may be, without the aid of an illumined guide, he is sure to stumble on the way. Disciple. Maharaj, I have been practicing spiritual disciplines, but as yet I have acquired no taste for them. What shall I do? Maharaj replies, the taste for spiritual life cannot be had all at once. No one has to struggle hard for it. No, the taste for spiritual life cannot be had all at once. Note, one has to struggle hard for it. All our energies must be concentrated towards that one achievement. They must not be wasted in any other direction onward. Never be satisfied with your present state of growth. Try to create a burning dissatisfaction within yourself. Ask yourself, what progress I am making? None. And apply yourself ever more diligently to the task. Sri Ramakrishna used to cry out at the close of his day, O Mother, another day has gone, I have not seen you. Every night before you go to sleep, think for a while how much time you have spent in doing good deeds and how much time you have wasted, how much time you have spent in meditation and how much you have wasted in idleness. Make your mind strong through the observance of continence and the practice of meditation. A rich man employs a porter whose duty is to pause, strive hard to reach him and be free in this very life. The mind is to be raised step by step from the gross state to the subtle, then to the causal state, then higher still to the great cause. Mahakarna, and finally to Samadhi, highest illumination. Resign yourself utterly to the Lord. He is everything, there is nothing besides. Verily all this is Brahma. Everything is His and His alone. Never be calculating, is self-surrender possible in a day? When that is achieved, everything is achieved. One must struggle hard for it. Existence is eternal. The span of man's life is at most 100 years. Give up the pleasures of these 100 years if you want to enjoy eternal life and with it eternal bliss. In the beginning of spiritual life, it is very good to plan a definite routine. A certain length of time should be given to the practices of meditation, japam and study. Whether you like it or not, follow your routine regularly. By so doing, you will gradually create a permanent habit. Perhaps now you do not enjoy meditating, but as you form the habit, you will come to the point where you will actually feel unhappy if you do not meditate. When you reach this stage, you will know that you have advanced along the spiritual path. When a man is hungry or cannot sleep at night, he is restless and unhappy. When you can feel this same restlessness and unhappiness because you have not seen God, then know that God is very near. Reach the immortal and find immortality. Then it will not matter where you are or what you are doing. Turn the iron into gold by the touch of the philosopher's stone. Then whether you bury it or keep it in a neat box, it will not matter. It will always remain gold. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, realize that you are one with Brahma, then do as you please. By this he meant, first attain love and knowledge, realize God, then it does not matter how you live or what you do. One who has reached this state can never take a false step. Many are the obstacles to a godly life. Therefore, it is necessary to pray earnestly to the Lord to remove these obstacles. Yearn for His grace. Many are the worldly impressions already accumulated in your mind, and many are the impressions created in this life also. As you struggle against them, they will seem to grow stronger, so that He alone truly conquers them, who never loses sight of the ideal and never gives up the struggle. Within each one of us, there are two currents flowing. One carries us towards God, and the other carries See that neither thieves, nor cows, nor sheep, nor any other intruder enter the compound. Man's mind is his porter, and the stronger the mind becomes, the better. The mind has also been likened to a restive horse. Such a horse may carry its rider along the wrong path, and only he who can hold the reins and check the horse can keep to the right path. Struggle on. Do you think that everything is achieved merely by wearing the girva cloth, ochre cloth of the sannyasi, or by the renunciation of hearth and home? What spiritual experience have you had? Time is flying. Waste no more time, for at most you have only another 3 or 4 years in which to struggle intensively. After that, your body and mind will grow weak and infirm, and your efforts will be limited. What can be achieved without diligence? You may think, let us have yearning, faith and devotion first, then we shall begin our spiritual practices. But is that possible? Can we see the day before the break of dawn? When the Lord comes, love, devotion and faith follow him as his retinue. Nothing can be achieved without spiritual discipline. Have you not seen what severe disciplines even the avatars, incarnations of God underwent? Has anything been gained without labor? What tremendous austerities were practiced by Buddha, Sankara and others? What burning renunciation! Real faith cannot be had at the beginning. First realization, then faith. At first the spiritual aspirant must pin his faith, blind faith, it may be, in the words of his guru or some great soul. Only then can he advance towards the goal. Do you know Sri Ramakrishna's parable of the austere? The austere floats about on the surface of the water with its shell wide open, waiting for a little drop of the Swati rain, the rain which falls when the star Swati or Arcturus is in the ascendant. As soon as it gets the raindrop, it dives down to the bottom of the sea and there forms a fine pearl. Like the austere, you received the raindrop, you have the grace of your Guru. Now dive deep into the ocean of bliss and form the pearl. Let God be revealed. One current takes you along the path of renunciation to God, and the other tries to pull you towards worldly enjoyments. We must choose between them. As a result of this choice, we become either gods or brutes. The tempting objects of the world lie before man's eyes in all their glittering and delusive splendor, so that he feels no need even to consider the probability of anything higher or grander. He may hear about the higher ideal of life, but he rationalizes by asking himself what guarantee there is that God can be known or that a greater joy can be reached. He sees no reason why he should give up today's pleasure for tomorrow's promise. Thinking thus, he jumps further into the fire until, burned and frustrated, he realizes his folly. Then he longs for peace, but often the longing comes too late. So enslaved has his mind become that even though he may earnestly desire to change his ways, he is helpless to do so in this life. Disciple: Maharaj, you spoke of the practices of puja, meditation, continence and study of the scriptures. What do you mean by puja? Maharaj: puja means both external ritualistic worship and mental worship. In ritualistic worship, certain accessories are necessary. These are sometimes difficult to procure. Therefore, the mental worship is more convenient for you. First, worship the chosen ideal mentally with flowers, incense, etc., and then practice meditation and mental japam. In purely mental japam, the mantram, name of God, is repeated without moving the lips. But in ordinary japam, the mantram is repeated silently with the movements of the lips. As you meditate on your chosen ideal, think of him as light and effulgence, and that everything shines because of his light. Think of him as living and conscious. As you continue thus, the form of your chosen ideal will gradually melt into the formless, into the infinite. Then will follow a vivid sense of the living presence, until finally the eye of wisdom will open and the infinite will be directly perceived. Ah, that is another realm far beyond this universe. After this experience, the universe appears as nothing. The mind is dissolved and you experience Savikalpa Samadhi. This leads gradually to the realization of the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, absolute union with God. This experience is beyond all thought and speech. There is nothing to be seen, nothing to be heard, all is infinite silence. It is beyond duality and non-duality. There are some who, having reached this state, look upon the body as an obstacle in the way of an unbroken spiritual experience and cast it off even while in samadhi. It is like breaking an earthen vessel. Sri Ramakrishna used to give the following illustration to explain this highest state of spiritual realization. Imagine several vessels filled with water with the sun reflected in each one. Break each vessel until only one remains with the sun fully reflected in that one. Finally you break even the last of the vessels, and what remains? The sun itself. Similarly, the self-luminous Brahma is reflected in the vessels of mind, senses, ego, etc. Break these vessels one after another and go beyond the physical consciousness, the subtle body and the causal body until you reach the Savikalpa Samadhi, when you will see God. But here, even in this stage, the sense of ego still remains. The last vessel is still to be broken. Break it, and what remains? Brahma and Brahma alone. Who is there left to see whom? Who to describe whom? Disciple. Maharaj, some think of the chosen ideal as the all-pervading spirit. Is this also a form of meditation? Yes, certainly. Maharaj, yes, certainly. Everyone should practice this meditation, but not at the beginning. This should be done only after some progress in spiritual life has been made. The presence of God must be realized everywhere. He who is personal and has form is also impersonal and without form. He dwells in all beings. He pervades land and water, hills and valleys, sky and stars. He pervades all things. Disciple. The scriptures speak of service to the Guru as a necessary means to spiritual realization. How far is this true, Maharaj? Service to the Guru is necessary at the preliminary stage, but later the mind itself plays the part of the Guru. The Guru must not be looked upon as an ordinary human being. His physical body is the temple of God. If one can serve the Guru with this idea always in mind, one acquires an intense love for him, which later develops into an intense love for God. Meditate upon the Guru in the Sahasrara, 1,000-petaled lotus in the brain, and then merge the form into that of the chosen ideal. Sri Ramakrishna said very explicitly at the time of meditation, The Guru appears before the disciple in vision. He points to the disciple's chosen ideal and says, "Look, there is your chosen ideal." Then he himself merges into the form of the chosen ideal. There is really no difference between the Guru and God. There are so many divine experiences. How can I tell you of them all? Follow the spiritual path earnestly and sincerely. Through religious practices, the mind will become pure and you will understand many truths. There is no limit to them. Lose yourself in God. Try to meditate within the shrine of your own heart. What that shrine is will be revealed to you as you continue the practice. Disciple. If the aspirant finds even a little joy in meditation, he is at once encouraged to proceed. Is not that so, Maharaj? Maharaj says, "True, but in the higher spiritual state, there is neither joy nor sorrow, pain nor pleasure, existence, non-existence. The joy that you speak of is only a help during the period of spiritual practices. The boat needs a favorable wind to reach its destination, but when it once arrives, it no longer matters whether the wind is favorable or not. Joy is like that. Favorable wind, it helps the aspirant along the spiritual path. Knowledge, the knower, and the object known, these three lose themselves in the absolute. That is all the scriptures can tell us. What takes place after this, no one is able to describe. It is directly experienced only by one who practices meditation. Only God can know himself. Be a God, that you may know the infinite God. In that knowledge there is neither want nor fear. The very thought of such knowledge is uplifting. To live in God is pure joy. Some enlightened souls experience the one undivided existence. Then they know that the seeming multiplicity of the universe is God's divine play. They know that the infinite God is born as an avatara for his own divine sport. Once when Sri Krishna was dancing in ecstasy, one shepherdess said to another, "Look, my friend, the truth of Vedanta is dancing. Sri Krishna is the Supreme Brahma. He is the infinite, changeless spirit playing as man. Beyond this, there is yet another deeper and fathomless spiritual experience." Disciple. Not very well, Maharaj. I am very unhappy. My mind is so restless. I must have been born with some very evil tendencies which are now standing in the way of my spiritual practices. Maharaj. My boy, you must not talk like that. Try to practice japam at dead of night. If that is not possible, do it during the early hours of the morning. Perform prascharna. Waste no more of your valuable time. Lose yourself in prayer and meditation. Otherwise, how can the door to spiritual truth be opened? The spiritual aspirant should eat very little food after sunset. Begin by taking 3/4 of your usual amount. Then reduce the quantity to 1/2. In the beginning you may notice it, but the body will soon adjust itself and remain healthy and active. Maharaj then referred to the days when he practiced spiritual disciplines in the company of his brother disciples, when they took only one meal during the 24 hours. Maharaj. The aspirant should first learn about the spiritual path from some great soul and then follow it methodically. If he proceeds haphazardly, he cannot make much progress, and if he gives up entirely, the effort to begin again will be twice as difficult. But no effort is wasted. Lust, greed, anger all gradually leave a man who practices spiritual disciplines. Your mind at present is covered over by rajas, restlessness, and tamas, inertia. It must be made pure and subtle and raised to the state of sattva, tranquility. Then you will find joy in your practices and will want to devote more and more time to them. Later, when the mind has attained perfect purity, you will have but one desire, to devote yourself to contemplation always, because the mind is gross, it runs after gross things, but as it becomes pure and subtle, it will run after God, the pure consciousness. When the mind grows subtle, its power increases and aspirant is immediately able to grasp the truth of God. When you sit for meditation, first think of a divine, blissful form. This will bring a soothing effect upon your nerves. Otherwise, meditation will be dry and tedious. Think of the form of your chosen ideal, smiling and full of bliss. Be up and doing. Waste no more time. The senses now are strong and must be kept under control. This is a difficult task, no doubt. But if you practice meditation continuously for 7 or 8 years, you will find peace and bliss and enjoy the fruits of your practices. Even after 1 year of steady practice, you will find some result. Many women disciples are making rapid progress. Should not you also strive for that? Women generally have greater results in less time because their faith is greater. Believe me, the Lord is always with you. Practice even a little and He will extend His hand to help you. He will protect you from all miseries and unhappiness. How unbounded is His grace! How can I make you understand? So far you have merely heard about these spiritual truths. Now realize them. You have done enough studying and reasoning. Now do some spiritual exercises. Choose that aspect of God which most appeals to you, and when you feel a growing devotion towards that one aspect, when you feel a steadfast love towards your chosen ideal, you will love God in all His aspects. While practicing japam, one should meditate on the form of the chosen ideal, otherwise it is not effective. If you cannot think of the whole form, think of a part. Begin by meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. Even if you fail many times, try again. Success is certain. Practice will make all things easy. Is meditation an easy thing? Remember, it is next only to samadhi. Try to leave everything to the Lord. Resign yourself entirely to Him. Devotion, self-surrender, and all other virtues will grow from within as you practice meditation. Teaching number 13. Maharaj, disciple asked, Maharaj, how can the Kundalini be awakened? Maharaj replies, according to some, there are special exercises by which the Kundalini can be awakened, but I believe it can best be awakened by the practice of japam and meditation. The practice of japam is specially suited to this present age, and there is no spiritual practice easier than this. But meditation must accompany the repetition of the mantram. Disciple. Does meditation mean thinking of the form of the deity? Maharaj. Meditation means thinking of the divine both with form and without form. Disciple. Maharaj, does the Guru decide whether one should meditate on God with form or without form? According to the yoga philosophy, there is a store of latent spiritual energy at the base of the spine. This is known as the Kundalini, meaning coiled up, and is pictured as a serpent. When this spiritual energy is roused, it raises up through the spiritual column and man's spiritual awakening begins. Maharaj, yes, he does, but in time the mind itself becomes the Guru. Sometimes the mind is inclined to think of God with form, and again at another time it prefers to think of the formless aspect. The human Guru is not always available, but as the aspirant goes on with his spiritual practices, his power of comprehension increases so that his mind is able to act as his own Guru. The mind is bound down by its attachment to the body, the senses, and the object of sense. Thus, its energies run out through various channels and are wasted. Snap the bonds of attachment, collect the scattered forces of the mind and direct them towards the one reality. This is the great task of the spiritual aspirant. Concentrate the whole mind and direct it towards God until He becomes revealed. Now is the time for spiritual practices. You are young now. When you grow older, the mind loses its vigor. Therefore, be up and doing. Begin your spiritual life this moment. Direct your mind towards God, either through japam or through meditation or through discrimination. Know that each of these means is equally effective. Take any one of them and drown yourself in the ocean of bliss. Ask no more questions. First do something and then ask questions. So, my dear friends, I end the video here. Thank you for watching and listening this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thank you, my dear friend. Namaste, namaste, namaskar.